In the quiet suburbs, where family bonds were supposed to be unbreakable, Daniel Hart had always leaned on his older brother, Iliyas, like a pillar of certainty, the one who managed the money, the plans, the future. But lately, whispers of doubt had begun to creep in, shadows amid the everyday warmth of home and hearth, pulling at the threads of trust he never thought could fray. As he settled into the familiar routine of another ordinary afternoon, Daniel sat at the kitchen table, the late afternoon sun slicing through the blinds like accusatory fingers. The family home smelled of fresh coffee and Mara's baking, comforts that usually anchored him. But today, as he scrolled through the shared bank app on his laptop, a knot tightened in his gut. Iliyas's transfers, $5,000 here, $3,200 there, funneled into an offshore account labeled Family Investments. Iliyas had always handled the finances, the big brother who knew best. "It's for our future," he'd say, with that easy grin. Daniel exhaled slowly, forcing calm. Family was safe. Blood didn't lie. The numbers didn't add up. Rent was covered, sure, but why the discrepancies? A withdrawal time-stamped during Iliyas's business trip last month overlapped with a hotel charge in the city, Mara's city. Daniel's fingers hovered over the keys. He thought of calling Iliyas, demanding clarity, but the words stuck. Instead, he pulled up the old voicemail app, one Mara had insisted he check after noticing Iliyas's secretive phone habits. "Just listen," she'd urged that morning, her voice steady but edged with something new. Worry. The first recording crackled to life. Iliyas's voice, low and coaxing, on a call from months ago. "Listen, it's not betrayal, it's protection. The family's better off not knowing the details." Pauses, then laughter. Charming, disarming. Who was he talking to? Daniel replayed it, heart rate ticking up. Calm eroded into a whisper of doubt. Iliyas, manipulating? No, impossible. But the evidence gnawed, like termites in the foundation. He stood, pacing to the mantel where the framed photo of the brothers, arms slung around each other at their parents' wedding anniversary, sat dusty. As he reached to adjust it, his elbow caught the edge. The frame slipped, glass shattering on the hardwood. Shards glittered like fractured trust. Daniel knelt, picking up the photo. Their smiles frozen, perfect. But now, cracked lines spiderwebbed across Iliyas's face, distorting that familiar grin. What was he hiding behind it? The question hung, unanswered, as suspicion coiled tighter in the quiet house. Later that evening, the kitchen light hummed like a distant swarm, casting long shadows across the marble counters where Daniel and Mara sat, coffee mugs cooling untouched. Daniel's fingers drummed the table, his mind replaying Iliyas's latest call, the casual mention of handling the investments, the slight pause that felt like a held breath. Family was solid, wasn't it? Iliyas had always been the rock, the one who bailed them out after Dad's death, steering their shared savings into what he called safe bets. Mara leaned forward, her eyes sharp in the dim glow of the laptop screen between them. "Dan, it's not adding up. The statements you showed me, Iliyas rerouted funds last month, but he told you everything was fine. Why the secrecy? We need to look deeper." He shook his head, a knot tightening in his chest. Doubt flickered, unbidden. What if she was right? Iliyas, his brother, the one who'd taught him to ride a bike on these same suburban streets, betraying them. No, blood didn't do that. Mara, he's family. Maybe it's just paperwork glitches, accusing him without proof. "Proof is what we're after," she interrupted, her voice steady, pulling up the family cloud account on the laptop. Her fingers flew across the keys. navigating folders Daniel had never bothered to check. You gave me the login. Let's start here. If it's nothing, we move on. Reluctance clawed at him, but her rationality was a lifeline in the rising fog of his thoughts. He watched as she sifted through innocuous files, tax docs, vacation photos, until she paused at a locked subfolder, time-stamped weeks ago. This one's encrypted. Iliyas's personal tag. She glanced at him, waiting. Daniel's pulse quickened. His mind raced. Unlock it. And what? Shatter the illusion of their easy trust. Or prove Mara wrong. Preserve the warmth of brotherly certainty? Do it, he muttered, the word tasting like surrender. She entered Iliyas's old password, their childhood dog's name, and the folder bloomed open. Inside, a single audio file. Note to self 075 MP3. Mara's cursor hovered, then clicked play. Iliyas's voice filled the kitchen, low and urgent, like a confession in the dead of night. Can't let Dan know yet. The offshore transfer's set, skimming just enough to cover the mess with Tessa's loan. If he digs, it'll unravel everything. Family first, right? But my way. The recording cut off abruptly, leaving silence thicker than fog. Daniel's world tilted. Iliyas, concealing, a treacherous plan, hidden in digital whispers. His brother's words echoed in his skull, each syllable cracking the foundation of unquestioned loyalty. Doubt surged, hot and paralyzing. Had he been blind all this time? Mara's hand found his, grounding him. See? It's not glitches. We have to keep going, Dan. For us. For the kids. He met her gaze, the fear coiling into something sharper. Resolve. Paranoia whispered at the edges, but for the first time, it felt like fuel. The myth of their calm family life lay in shards on the table. Truth wasn't free. It demanded they chase it, no matter the cost. But that voice, did it confirm the worst? The question hung, unanswered, as Daniel nodded. You're right. Let's find out everything. The next morning, the kitchen light hummed overhead, casting stark shadows across the oak table, where Daniel hunched over a stack of bank statements. Mara sat beside him, her fingers tapping the edge of a laptop, the screen's glow illuminating her furrowed brow. The family home, once a sanctuary of polished counters and framed photos, now felt like a stage set for interrogation. Daniel's eyes scanned the columns, deposits, withdrawals, the tidy ledger of their shared life. But there, buried in the fine print of a joint account alert, a ghost transaction flickered, an unauthorized credit line, pulled months ago, siphoning funds into an offshore shadow. Danny, look, Mara whispered, sliding the printout toward him. It was the credit statement, crisp and damning, its barcode like a scar against the white paper. Withdrawals for luxury hotels, wire transfers to unnamed entities, none matching their agreed budget, the one Iliyas had sworn to uphold as the family's financial guardian. Daniel's stomach twisted. Iliyas, his brother, the one who'd always handled the numbers with that easy charm. Family first, he'd say, clapping Daniel on the back after every holiday toast. But this wasn't a slip. The dates aligned with Iliyas's business trips, the ones he'd brushed off with vague promises of returns. Doubt crept in first, a cold whisper. Maybe it's a mistake, a clerical error. Daniel rubbed his temples, the numbers blurring. Mara leaned closer, her voice steady but edged. We need to call him now. He dialed Iliyas's number, the ringtone echoing through the speaker like a heartbeat. Iliyas picked up on the third, his voice smooth as ever. Danny, what's up, bro? Everything okay at home? Daniel gripped the phone, the credit statement crinkling under his free hand. Iliyas, there's something off with the accounts. A credit pull I don't recognize. It's draining us. Hotels, transfers. You know anything about this? A pause. Too long. Then Iliyas's laugh. Light, but laced with deflection. Whoa. Slow down. Probably just some glitch from the bank. I'll check it out tomorrow. Trust me. It's nothing. Trust me. The words landed like a hook in Daniel's gut. He glanced at Mara, her eyes narrowing. Distance growing between the brothers' old alliance and this new fracture. Paranoia stirred, sharpening into suspicion. Iliyas's voice droned on, excuses piling like unpaid bills, but Daniel's mind raced ahead. Who else could access that line? Whose signatures hid in the metadata? The family's safety net was unraveling, thread by thread, and blood ties suddenly felt like chains. He ended the call with a curt, "We'll talk in person." Mara placed a hand on his arm, her touch grounding. "He's lying, Danny. We dig deeper." The statement lay between them, a silent accuser, as the question hung unspoken in the air. Whose operations were bleeding them dry? That afternoon, the kitchen light hummed like a distant swarm, casting long shadows across the granite counters where Daniel sat, fingers drumming a silent rhythm on his coffee mug. Suspicion coiled in his gut, a serpent he'd tried to ignore. Iliyas's late nights, the vague excuses about family investments. Mara paced by the window, her phone clutched like a lifeline. "She's here," she said, voice steady, but edged with the fracture Daniel felt too. The doorbell chimed, and Mara led in Detective Sonia Park, a compact woman in a tailored blazer, her dark hair pulled back, eyes sharp as switchblades. No nonsense, no small talk. She set her briefcase on the table with a thud that echoed Daniel's pulse. "Mrs. Hart filled me in on the basics," Sonia said, glancing at Daniel. "Inconsistencies in your brother's finances. Odd calls. You mentioned a shared account?" Daniel nodded, words sticking. Iliyas wouldn't. Blood's thicker. But the thought rang hollow now. Suspicion gnawing deeper. Mara slid a USB drive across the table. "This recording, from his phone, synced to our cloud by accident. Listen." Sonia plugged in a small digital recorder, its red light blinking to life like an accusatory eye. The symbol of buried truths, mechanical and unyielding, sat between them. She hit play. Iliyas's voice crackled through. "Yeah, divert the funds to the offshore. Tell them it's for the family trust. No one questions blood." A pause, then a woman's laugh. Not their mother's, not anyone's they knew. Infidelity, embezzlement. The words twisted in Daniel's mind, facts assembling like puzzle pieces he hadn't wanted to see. His thoughts raced, shifting from fog to focus. Not just slips, patterns. Investments rerouted, lies layered. He leaned in, mind sharpening like a detective's lens, piecing the anomalies. The missing $50K from their joint venture. Iliyas's charm masking the drain. Suspicion burned hot, then cooled into clarity. A cold, illuminating resolve. This wasn't family loyalty. It was a web, and Iliyas the spider. Sonia paused the recording, her face impassive. "This is just the start. I'll pull bank trails, cross-reference calls. Tech doesn't lie. Recordings, logs, they expose the double life. Your brother's not just secretive, he's systematic." She met Daniel's eyes. "We'll need your access to build the case. But once it's out, there's no burying it." Mara's hand found his under the table. A bridge of shared certainty. They were aligned now, against the unraveling lie. Iliyas's control slipped further in Daniel's imagination. Charming smiles cracking under evidence's weight. But as Sonia packed her recorder, a shadow lingered. Could this truth hold when Iliyas pushed back, his charisma a weapon honed on blood ties? As the investigation deepened that evening, The dim glow of the laptop screen cast harsh shadows across Detective Sonia Park's face in the cramped kitchen of the Hart family home. Daniel sat beside her, his fingers drumming erratically on the oak table, the surface scarred from years of unthinking trust. Outside, the suburban night hummed with distant lawnmowers, a facade of normalcy that now felt like a mocking veil. "Look at this," Sonia said, her voice low and precise, sliding a stack of printouts toward him. Bank statements, timestamps from hidden apps, cross-referenced hotel receipts. Iliyas's credit trail doesn't lie. 3 nights in the city last month, charged to the family account you both share, but no business meetings logged. And these texts, encrypted, but we cracked the pattern. Midnight rendezvous with someone named L, not a client. Daniel's mind raced, piecing it together like a puzzle he'd long refused to see. Suspicion had started as a whisper weeks ago, Mara's nagging doubts about Iliyas's late nights. Now it swelled, a cold tide eroding the bedrock of brotherhood. He thought of Iliyas's easy smile at family dinners, the way he'd clap Daniel on the back and say, "We're unbreakable, little bro." Was it all smoke? Sonia clicked play on a small recorder, the device innocuous on the table, like a forgotten phone charger. A hidden conversation, captured by Tessa's discreet plant in Iliyas's office months ago. Iliyas's voice crackled through the speakers, smooth as silk, but laced with venom. "Listen, if Daniel asks about the investments, feed him the usual line. He's too loyal to dig deeper. Family sticks together, right? Keep the cash flow quiet, and we'll all win." A woman's laugh followed. L, no doubt. Then Iliyas's murmur, "You're my real escape from this suburban cage." Daniel's breath hitched. The words burrowed into his thoughts, replaying Iliyas's manipulations, the way he'd guilted their aging aunt into loans that vanished, the emotional barbs disguised as brotherly advice, suspicion twisted into something sharper, a dawning horror that clawed at his chest. How many times had he enabled this? Laughed off the inconsistencies, defended Iliyas to Mara. The family home, once a sanctuary, now loomed like a trap, its walls echoing with unspoken treacheries. Sonia paused the recording, her eyes steady. "This isn't just infidelity, Daniel. It's a web, financial, emotional. He's played you all. We need more. Phone logs, witness statements. You're not chasing shadows anymore. You're building a case." He nodded, resolve hardening amid the nausea. The bond with Iliyas frayed in his mind, threads snapping one by one, while his alliance with Sonia and Mara, waiting upstairs, felt like the only solid ground. But as the recorder's silence stretched, a question lingered, unvoiced. Could this buried truth shatter the loyalty he'd clung to? Or would it just leave him adrift in the ruins? Late into the night, the dim glow of the desk lamp carved shadows across Daniel's study, the family home's walls pressing in like forgotten secrets. He hunched over his laptop, the hidden recording playing on loop, Iliyas's voice, smooth as oil, whispering manipulations into a relative's ear. Suspicion coiled in Daniel's gut, a familiar serpent now, but he clung to the facts. The credit trails, the timestamps. Mara had been right. This wasn't imagination. The door creaked open without a knock. Iliyas stood there, broad-shouldered in the hallway light, his charismatic smile a mask Daniel once adored. "Danny? Burning the midnight oil again? You look like hell." Daniel's finger hovered over pause. "What are you doing here, Iliyas? It's late." Iliyas stepped in, closing the door with a soft click that echoed like a lock turning. He glanced at the screen, eyes narrowing just a fraction. "Heard you've been digging." Mara called, Said you're obsessed with some evidence. Come on, brother. This paranoia, it's eating you alive. Suspicion sharpened to a blade. Daniel leaned back, forcing calm. It's not paranoia. The recordings. Recordings? Iliyas laughed, low and disarming, pulling up a chair too close. You mean those doctored clips floating around? Danny, think. Who benefits from making me the villain? You've always been the good one. But this? It's like you're inventing enemies to feel needed. He reached out, clapping Daniel's shoulder, the touch warm, brotherly, yet it burned. Remember Dad's old rule, family first, no outsiders stirring the pot. Daniel's mind raced, thoughts fracturing. Were the voices spliced? The timestamps faked? Iliyas's eyes held no flicker of guilt, only concern. And suddenly, the laptop screen seemed too bright, too accusatory. He thought of Mara, her steady voice urging him to trust the proof. But now, doubt wormed in. What if she was wrong? What if this was all a trap? Iliyas pulling strings from the shadows. Iliyas leaned closer, voice dropping. You're turning on your own blood. For what? Some detective's hunch? If there's betrayal, look in the mirror, pushing me away like this. The words landed like punches. Daniel's gaze darted to the mantel, where their childhood photos sat. Two boys grinning, arms slung around each other. Iliyas followed his eyes, and in a casual sweep of his hand, reaching for a glass, the frame toppled. Glass shattered, the image fracturing into jagged pieces, smiles splintered like lies. Daniel's breath hitched. Paranoia flooded in, hot and suffocating. Every shadow in the room a potential recorder. Every word from Iliyas a reversal. Was this the man he'd idolized? Or a stranger weaving truth into deception? How could he hold on to sanity when facts twisted like smoke in his brother's hands? Iliyas stood, unfazed. See? Things break when you force them. Sleep on it, Danny. We're family. He slipped out, leaving the silence thicker, the broken photo glinting like a warning Daniel couldn't unsee. The following day, in the dim basement light that flickered like a guilty conscience, casting long shadows over the cluttered table where Daniel sat, knuckles white against the wood. Mara hovered nearby, her eyes sharp, while Detective Park leaned against the wall, arms crossed, recorder poised. Iliyas wasn't there. Not yet, but his ghost loomed in every document Tessa Alvarez clutched like a lifeline. Tessa, the family's old friend, with crow's feet, etched from years of quiet endurance, slid a worn envelope across the table. I've held on to these too long, she said, voice cracking but steady, pulling out faded checks yellowed with age, symbols of borrowed trust, each one signed in Iliyas's looping script. Loans for family emergencies that never circled back, siphoned into his hidden schemes. He started with me 15 years ago. Said it was for the business, for all of us. But it was his mistresses, his gambles, and the emotions. God, the way he'd twist words to make you feel ungrateful for asking. Daniel's stomach twisted, shock rooting him in place as he rifled through the stack. Old checks from joint accounts, endorsements forged in familiarity, his brother's handwriting, once a comfort, now a blade. This can't, he started, but Tessa cut him off, rising abruptly, her chair scraping like an accusation. It is, and it's not just money. He played on my guilt after my divorce, promised stability if I kept quiet about the discrepancies, manipulated the whole circle. Your aunt, the cousins. I brought them too. She nodded to the door, where two shadowed figures waited. Relatives, faces pale with long-buried resentment, ready to testify. The air thickened, tension coiling in Daniel's chest. External, the mounting evidence. Internal, the fracture of his world. Iliyas's calls had gone unanswered all day. He was circling, sensing the net. But here, in this subterranean confessional, the scheme unraveled thread by thread. Tessa paced, her testimony spilling raw. He'd say, "Family first, Tess. Don't make me the villain." But he was, every check a chain. Horror gripped Daniel. Visions of their shared childhood splintering, picnics, promises, into deceit. Yet as Tessa's words hammered home, a spark ignited. He straightened, resolve hardening his jaw. We confront him. Now, with this, he pocketed a check, the paper crinkling like breaking bonds. Mara nodded. Detective Park hit record. The alliance with Tessa solidified in that shared gaze, Iliyas receding into the antagonist's void. But as footsteps echoed upstairs, Iliyas's car in the drive, the question hung. Would this testimony shatter the family barrier or merely widen the cracks? Later that afternoon, Daniel's fingers trembled as he gripped the cold metal key, its teeth glinting under the basement's single bare bulb. The family home's underbelly smelled of dust and forgotten promises, cardboard boxes stacked like tombstones against the concrete walls. He'd found the key earlier that day, tucked in Iliyas's old jacket pocket during a frantic search of the garage. No more hesitation, no blind faith in blood. He was the hunter now, stalking the shadows his brother had cast. The safe squatted in the corner, a squat black sentinel bolted to the floor, its dial mocking him with Iliyas's birthday combination. Another lie woven into their shared history. Daniel inserted the key into the override slot, twisting hard. It resisted, then yielded with a metallic snick that echoed like a gunshot in the dim space. The door swung open, exhaling a puff of stale air laced with the faint ink of secrets. Inside, files cascaded out. Yellowed ledgers, forged signatures, bank statements siphoning family funds into offshore shadows. His eyes scanned the top page. Iliyas's name bolded next to unauthorized credit lines and diverted investments, promises to protect the family, twisted into embezzlement trails leading to shell companies. Daniel's stomach knotted, revelation crashing like ice water. This wasn't a mistake. It was a web, Iliyas at the center, preying on their trust for years. Deeper in, a small digital recorder nestled amid the papers, its red light long dead, but the weight of it alive. He snatched it up, thumbed the play button. Iliyas's voice filled the basement, smooth as ever, but laced with venom. Listen, the old man's pension, it's leverage. I'll promise Daniel the moon, stability, the house, all of it. But we reroute it here. Family first, right? They never check. Laughter followed, cold and conspiratorial. Then a woman's voice. Tessa, pleading. But the promises, you swore. Iliyas's reply. Promises are for suckers who believe in loyalty. The recording cut off. Daniel's breath hitched, shock blooming into fury, then hardening into resolve. No more excuses. This was the noose. Proof of fraud, of shattered vows that had eroded their foundation like acid. He pocketed the recorder, bundled the documents, his mind already mapping the confrontation. Detective Park's office tomorrow, Mara's steady gaze beside him, Tessa's testimony sealing the trap. Iliyas's facade, charming brother, pillar of the family, would crack under this weight. As he locked the safe, the key bit into his palm, a talisman of irreversible pursuit. Could this finally shatter the mask Iliyas wore? Or would the shadows swallow them all? That evening, the dim light of the family living room cast long shadows across the hardwood floor, the air thick with the scent of stale coffee and unspoken accusations. Daniel stood rigid by the mantel, his knuckles white around a stack of bank statements, the unauthorized credit lines glaring like fresh wounds. Mara flanked him, her eyes steady, arms crossed as a shield. Detective Sonia Park sat on the edge of the couch, her phone propped discreetly on the armrest, red recording light blinking like a predator's eye. Iliyas lounged in the armchair opposite, his charismatic smile faltering as he glanced at the door. But there was no escape here, not in their childhood home, the one symbol of unshakable bonds. "Explain this, Iliyas," Daniel said, voice low and unyielding, sliding the statements across the coffee table. The papers rustled like whispers of betrayal. Diverted funds from the family investments, funneled into his secret accounts, bleeding them dry for years. "You siphoned everything. Our future. Mom's legacy." Iliyas leaned forward, feigning confusion, his eyes flicking to Mara for alliance. "Danny, come on. Family sticks together. This is some mix-up. Bureaucratic bullshit. You know I'd never—" "Save it," Mara cut in, her tone sharp as a blade. She tapped the laptop on the table, hitting play. The hidden recording crackled to life. Iliyas's voice, smooth and insidious, manipulating Tessa Alvarez over the phone. "They'll never see it coming. Just trust me, like family does." The words hung, damning, exposing the web of infidelity, lies, and emotional puppeteering that had ensnared them all. Sonia's gaze never wavered, her notebook open, pen poised. "Mr. Hart, this is perjury-level evidence. Infidelity corroborated by timestamps. Financial fraud via these trails. It's all documented. Your reaction now? It's on record." Iliyas's face twisted, the mask slipping into rage. He surged to his feet, slamming a fist on the table. "You think you can corner me? I'm your brother, Daniel. Blood. This witch hunt. It's tearing us apart." In his fury, he swept an arm wide, knocking a framed photo from the mantel. It tumbled, glass shattering across the floor. The old snapshot of the brothers as kids, arms slung around each other, grinning under summer sun. Shards glinted like fractured trust, the image irreparably broken. Daniel's heart hammered, paranoia yielding to a cold, controlled fury. No more lies, no more blind faith. "Blood doesn't excuse this. You've poisoned it all. We're done." He stepped forward, voice steady, the hunter closing in. Mara nodded, her hand finding his, Sonia's recording capturing every syllable. Iliyas slumped back, eyes darting, the fight draining as truth pinned him. But in the silence that followed, the air hummed with the unspoken. Could these shards ever be pieced back? Or had loyalty's poison seeped too deep? The morning after, Daniel sat in the dim glow of the kitchen, the family home's heart now feeling like a hollow chamber. The broken photograph lay on the table before him, its frame cracked from the fall during last night's confrontation. The smiling faces of him, Mara, and Iliyas, splintered like the trust it once captured. Iliyas's grin seemed mocking now, a relic of the lie he'd clung to. Family above all, blood unbreakable. His mind raced, a storm of resolve churning through the wreckage. Who would stay in this rebuilt world? Mara, with her steady gaze that had pierced the veil first. Tessa, the friend who'd whispered truths he'd ignored. Even Detective Park, her evidence a lifeline pulling him from the abyss. But Iliyas, gone, or at least redefined as outsider. Yet as the evening waned, the question lingered unspoken in the air. Could they truly renegotiate loyalty from these ruins? Or would the fractures pull them apart again?